If you could go back and talk to yourself the night before you started your MSP, what advice would you give yourself? Assuming it's not, don't do it, maybe you tell yourself about the biggest mistakes that you're going to make along the way so that your younger self could avoid those mistakes. I've been speaking to a vendor who used to be an MSP, and we've been playing exactly this game. Right now, check out his biggest sales and marketing mistakes and see how they compare to yours.
Hey everybody, my name is Dustin Puryear. I'm the founder of Giant Rocketship. I was an MSP owner. Now I'm on the vendor side, and we fully automate ticket and work management for MSPs.
You went from the light side to the dark side, but thank you for joining us on the podcast. And by the way, really cool company name. I'm looking forward to hearing about how you came up with the name Giant Rocketship. That's one of the coolest vendor names that we've ever heard. And let's be honest, we're surrounded by vendors with really boring technical sounding names. So that in itself stands out. Dustin, you think you've got a really interesting story, and we are today going to talk about the marketing stuff that you wish you'd known back in the day when you were an MSP. Let's talk about that. So tell us your MSP story. How did you get into it in the first place? What was the technology when you got into it? Are we talking sort of pre-XP? And what was your MSP story? How did you get started? How did you end that story?
Yeah, interesting. So I come from the .com era. For anybody that knows that, I was a developer. I was a young kid out of college. And that company was in streaming media in the early 2000s, so it folded, as you would guess. And I was looking for, what am I doing next? And single, no kids. I was like, well, I could just start a business. What's the worst case here? That I'll move in with my mom. So I was 22, 23. I was a Unix admin coder guy. So I started a consultancy for hospitals and state agencies. Then I realized it was hard for me to reproduce myself, started bringing in Windows people. And then suddenly I realized I had an IT company, and then we converted to a fixed fee model, which made me de facto a MSP. And then 20 years later, I sold that puppy.
That's it. Simple as that.
Yes.
And do you miss it? I know that's a strange sounding question.
I miss some of the relationships. The company that acquired us, actually, I was talking to the owner the other day, and he said, man, you had some really good connections. Like, the owners still ask about you. How's everything going? And yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I need to reach out to X customer A, B, or C and just go have lunch with them. Because I would have regular core lunches with the customers. And I do miss that level of relationship. It's not totally outside of how a vendor works with their customers, but just the scale and number of customers makes it more difficult to have that many relationships. So I would say that type of intimate relationship with your customers is probably what I miss the most about being an MSP.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And a lot of people would sell their MSP, go and have 6 months off, and then start another MSP. Was that not something that appealed to you?
I thought about it, but so Giant Rocketship has started as kind of a little side project that came out of my MSP because we developed it originally for the MSP. So one, I really couldn't just sit on it unless I was going to fold it. My Rocketship customers want to be happy with that. And then also, I think it scared my wife thinking that I would just be home all the time because she works from the office and I'm high energy, talkative, constantly making noises, banging on things. And I don't know if she would have been on board with me taking 6 months off. So the votes were tallied, and it was clear that I should just sprint to the next opportunity.
I love that. I sold my first business in 2016, and I was going to take 6 months off. It was 6 weeks, and I started what is now my business I run now. I was so bored within 6 weeks, which is just nuts. So people like us, we're going to be in our 80s and 90s running businesses. It's going to be quite a sad state of affairs, I think.
Yeah, I can see this full retirement concept. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I just want a break. But I don't know that I'll ever actually fully retire. I enjoy it. And yes, it can be stressful sometimes. But I do better when I'm under stress. I underperform when I have no stress on me. I'll dither, I'll procrastinate. But if I have stress on me, I'll perform well. And so I think I just thrive under a high pressure environment.
Right, in which case, let's ratchet this up. We're going to talk about Giant Rocketship at the end of the interview. So I'm more interested now in, actually, just before we ratchet up the pressure, how long have you not been an MSP? So how long have you been a vendor for?
So, I just sold my MSP in October.
Oh, okay. So just last year then. Okay. So already then you're a little on from that.
Mm-hmm.
And what's some of the marketing stuff that you've learned in this kind of vendor startup phase that you wish you knew back when you were running that MSP?
Well, that's the thing is our MSP guy, we were in the $2 to $3 million range. So not huge, but bigger than average. And there were things that we just weren't mature on yet. And one of them was just how important strong KPIs are around marketing. I don't think people properly track their marketing dollars. And the next thing, and I could talk about this all day long, is not being patient enough with marketing. The reality is sales should have a relatively quick turnaround. If you bring in an SDR, that person should start hitting within a few months. You'll know, you might not be making your money back, but you'll know whether you're going to get something. Marketing, you're looking at a solid year to really start seeing the return on marketing. And people don't budget properly for marketing because they want a faster turnaround, and they could be going in the right direction and they'll abort that project because they don't see the returns fast enough. And that's bad thinking. It's broken thinking when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, I'm smiling and laughing and nodding as you say this, because that's exactly my experience. And do you know what? That's a normal experience as well, because as business owners, we're not used to waiting 3, 6, 9, 12 months for something to pay off, are we? We're not quite the instant gratification, I need it in the next 5 minutes, that a lot of people, a lot of consumers are. But when you say to someone, oh, you got to wait a year for that, that just seems nuts. That seems like the wrong thing to do. So did you learn that lesson in your MSP, or is that something that you realized from reflection after exiting it?
I would say at the tail end of the MSP, I started really understanding the timeline of marketing better. And I would say exiting it, being able to evaluate where I succeeded, where I failed in marketing sales with the MSP, and where I could apply that with Giant Rocketship. And I kind of joke, but I'm serious, that Giant Rocketship has made me unlearn more than it's made me learn. Because the service model, the way you sell it, can be very different than a product model. But now that I'm in Rocketship and I have people that are really focused on how do you get the marketing working, and what does that life cycle look like, and when do you start a conversation, and when should it hit to see if your numbers are correct? That's just really opened my eyes to just how short term my thinking as an MSP was.
So you said you got to, I think it was 2-3 million revenue, which, as you correctly identify, is not usual. It's a little above what many people where they sort of get to with their business. What were the marketing and sales things that you did back in the day that you think moved the needle the most?
Well, at that size, you're very referral heavy, and that was a huge thing, which is just getting out there. I don't know if they have that saying in the UK, but pressing the flesh, like just shaking hands, kissing babies. But you need to be out there. If you are an owner for an MSP and you're at 1, 2, 3 million, you still need to be going to your chamber meetings every week, right? You still need to be going to events where business people go, like learning sessions with your chamber or with your economic development agency in your state. Your face needs to be out there. You need to be out there on social media. You need to keep it obviously apolitical. You need to keep it like straight and narrow on business stuff. And you need to know what your job is. And as an owner for MSP up to 3 million, you are the closer, and you're the face of the company. And that's what you're selling. You're still selling yourself as the owner. A $10 million MSP is selling process. A $1 million MSP is selling the owner. And I think people get their wires crossed when it comes to that.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, you're absolutely spot on that and I would say probably 80% of the MSPs on the planet are owner-driven businesses. They're personality-driven businesses. So the business comes from as you say, it's the owner's personality. It's the force of energy they've got or the force of energy they haven't got. It's partly pressing the flesh. It's partly the follow-up calls. It's partly how they're reflected on social media. But it is very much based around a person. And you're right, there comes a point where that business has to outgrow the owner. Now, you can still be the face of the business. So I'm the face of our business, but I believe me, I do very little work in the business. In fact, my job is this. Only I can do this. Only I can be, on social media and writing our content. But I don't do any of the customer service. I don't write any of the content for our MSP Marketing Edge clients or anything like that. And it's a very difficult transition for MSPs to make. And in fact, many MSPs don't even like the fact that they are the face of the business, even though they are the face of the business. Mm-hmm. It's a very difficult thing. Final question about your MSP. If you did decide to start another MSP, what are sort of the 2 or 3 things that you would do differently, that you would just go in and from day one? And I'm not looking for like tech stack, software choices, anything like that. I'm looking for, from a marketing, sales and growth point of view, what are some of the 2 or 3 things that you would go in and instantly say, oh, I would do XYZ differently?
Well, I do want to take one step back. And you brought up stack, and I actually just had this conversation with somebody the other day. If you're a $1, $2, $3 million MSP and you're focused on selling your stack, you are completely having the wrong conversation. That size customer doesn't care about your stack. They literally don't. A $500 million organization that's bringing you in for tier 2 escalation support, they care about how you run things. Smaller, they just want to know how you personally are going to handle things and what your account management looks like. So if I were to go reinvent myself, I would completely do it differently. One thing is I would absolutely be all in. It took me a long time to learn that my face needed to be out there in the business community. And I just struggled with that. I just thought it was how good of a technical person I was. And it took me 10 years to realize, hey, day one, I need to be out there shaking hands, telling people what I am. Second, the biggest mistake we made as an MSP, this is from the sales and marketing aspect, was we weren't niched down enough. I was a solve all problems MSP. We had a few hotels, we had a few small banks, we had a lot of healthcare. I would niche down to one segment and I would go all in on that niche because I would be able to 10x my marketing dollar. Whereas when I was broad-based, I was 1/10 the marketing dollar, right? Because it was spread so thin. And people don't understand that when you're a broad-based MSP, your marketing dollars are extremely expensive compared to a niche down MSP.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Let's talk about the vendor then. So you started Giant Rocketship back end of last year. First of all, tell us, what is Giant Rocketship? What does it do? Obviously, you work with MSPs, but what specific use cases or what problems do you solve? And tell us a little bit about the marketing you've been doing for it.
Yeah. So the use cases, what I found and what I've seen at all the MSPs is they're just overwhelmed. They have more tickets coming in than they have technicians. They keep hiring more and more dispatchers and managers and service managers, and it doesn't work. It doesn't scale. And so Rocketship fully automates the service management. So we team up with the service manager, service coordinator if you have one, and then we just tell you, hey, this is great, but you won't need to hire more service coordinators. You're good where you are. And we fully automate the flow of work through your MSP. Rocketship makes a decision what technical resources do what work. When they're going to do work, it tells them what order to do the work, and it tells them don't touch this ticket for 3 days. It's as though every technician had their own personal secretary that was constantly optimizing their day, and that is what Rocketship does.
So that's really clever. So how have you achieved that? Is that some kind of AI-based solution, or is that sort of based on the rules that you wished your technicians had followed back when you had technicians?
It's a combination. So we definitely have AI in there. And so the AI is more on predicting things, looking at the cadence of the staff, who's running fast, who's running slow for the day, for the week, for the month. It's also somewhat rule-based. It understands that Meraki and Ubiquity tickets go to the network team, password resets go to this other team. And then it understands ticket priorities, SLAs. And we have a bunch of our own unique ways of looking at stuff. For example, Rocketship understands that regardless of a ticket priority, some appointments are more important than the other. It's more important to make the appointment for a VIP on a medium party ticket than it is to make an appointment for a high party ticket for a receptionist. That's just the brutal reality. And so Rocketship understands all these conflicting priorities, massages them together, and then hands them kind of on a silver platter to the technician and just says, this is the optimal path for you to be successful for the day.
Yeah, I love it. It's such a clever idea. And are you finding the marketing of that as a vendor on the dark side? Are you finding the marketing completely different to how you used to market your MSP?
Yeah, because there's almost no relationship selling with here with a product, and so the marketing is obviously you have to self-brand. You know how that works, right? So as a founder, I do have to brand myself. Hey, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm the founder. And so that's important. But Rocketship has to stand on its own without the founder. It can't be 100% founder-led, unlike a service company. And so I definitely had to learn some hard lessons. And we continue to learn the lessons of what's the vocabulary we need to use with customers. Like, what are fun words we think are awesome? And a service manager says, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? And that's so common in marketing is you think you're saying something that's clear message, but your audience is unclear. They don't know what you're trying to tell them. And in marketing, you're constantly testing everything that you say. And so that's kind of where we are right now with the marketing is we're constantly testing what's the vocabulary we need to use and where are the people at that we need to reach.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. My one piece of advice, which obviously will change over time, but for how to get those exact words is interview your clients, literally record yourself interviewing them, put the transcripts into ChatGPT or insert your generative AI engine of choice and get it to do some deep research on what are the common words, what are the common phrases. So something like, you and I know that the word ticket is a standard word, right? That's everyone in the MSP world uses the word ticket. A user doesn't, well, even users don't call themselves users, but we know that they're users and they submit tickets. So those are standard ones. But I bet you, if you interviewed 10 MSPs and put every single word they said and got ChatGPT to analyze all of that and do some deep research, I bet you it would give you 2 or 3 phrases that you literally use those exact phrases in your marketing.
That's a great idea. I haven't done that. I haven't done that. That's
there we go. That's free. Well, I say it's free. I'll send you a bill for $1,000 because you're in startup mode, right? So you've got tons of cash. I'm joking. Justin, that's a fantastic interview. Thank you so much for telling us about your MSP and your new venture. Let's get you back on the show in the years ahead because it'd be really interesting to see how you develop that. I'm sure you have a ton of ideas of where that's going to go as you grow your user base and you get more MSPs using it. Just finally tell us where do we go to sort of connect with you, have a look at a demo of that and get in touch.
Yeah, so giantrocketship.com should be very easy to spell. That's one of the things I like about that name. Giantrocketship.com. You can reach me via email at dustin@giantrocketship.com. And we will get back to you the second you reach out to us.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.